Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to Newspaper Analysis Townhall. Today, 24th of July. Today's newspaper has some very important articles, so we are going to have a look at the following articles. First one, the reality of changing dimensions of warfare. What this article basically discusses is how the international global order and rule-based order has transitioned from 1600, 1700 to the current times. So here we will see how the nature of warfare has also changed. A term has been used, technological warfare, which has emerged in the recent conflicts we have witnessed. So we will discuss the various aspects related to this. Secondly, preventing cruelty against animals. In this article, what we are going to have a look at is in the various experiments which are done on animals, how we can reduce the cruelty and the pain of the animals. So it is a debate between animal and human. So we are going to have a look at this. Next one, can presidential reference change a judgment? As we all know, the judgment given by two-judge bench of the Supreme Court about passing of the 10 bills of the Tamil Nadu government. Now this has been challenged by the presidential reference. If in the presidential reference, court says that the judgment was against the constitution, then can this judgment be reversed? In this regard, we are going to have a look at various aspects related to the presidential reference and the judgment. Next one, fixing Delhi's air quality crisis. We are sitting on 24th of July. From October, November, the pollution starts in Delhi and the NCR region. So this is the time when we should fix the pollution and also work towards reducing the pollution. So we are going to have a look at what are the important things we should do. Now this is a worry thing. Net FDI in the month of May fell by 98%. So we are going to have a look at what is net FDI and what is the trend of FDI in India. So let's start. First one. In this article, I'll start with a famous quote of Machiavelli. Machiavelli says that in politics, one is guided solely by harsh realities of political life. This is the summation of this article. We will see how. What Machiavelli wants to say here is, in the political life, that is in politics, where leaders are involved, international order is involved, the guide of any individual is harsh realities of political life. That is, if the realities which are relevant today and they are in contrast with the realities of the past. Say, for example, there was a world order in the past, right? Now that world order and the underlying conditions have changed. So these realities have to be taken into consideration by the leaders in the political arena. This is a struggle for power and survival. We will understand this better when we will see the how international order has emerged and transitioned. What this article says, old rules that once governed international politics, they are appearing to be in a terminal decline. How? Machiavelli's belief. Prioritizing the acquisition of power through pragmatic means. Pragmatic means, for example, if earlier there was idealism, okay, if somebody is doing good to us, we will do good to them. It is not right to attack on the territorial integrity of a nation. But these are the ideals. And in international arena, one is not supposed to ideas if the realities have changed. So we should have a pragmatic approach. Idealism or ethical considerations are secondary to the imperative of securing and retaining power. In order to retain power, idealism or ethical considerations comes at second place. What comes at first? Pragmatism. This is the theme of this article, basically the Machiavelli's thought. How Machiavelli's thought is linked to the modern context. See how modern context evolved. From 1600, an international order was established through various treaties like Peace of Westphalia, Congress of Vienna. What are these? Basically, the Treaty of Westphalia was a peace treaty signed in 1648 in Germany in Westphalia. What it did, it ended two wars. First one, 30 years war in the Holy Roman Empire, and second, 80 years war between Spain and Dutch. So the wars were ended, territorial integrity was to be respected. So it laid the foundation of modern international order. Second, Congress of Vienna, where also after the defeat of Napoleon, the French Revolution, a long-term peace plan for Europe was considered in this 1814 and 1815. So what they did, what they tried to do, to lay down an international order where rule-based orders will be established and countries will respect those rules. Okay. So what the article says, that these treaties are no longer relevant because what we are seeing today, various conflicts, Russia-Ukraine conflict, Israel-Iran conflict, entry of US into the Israel-Iran war, also the tariffs which are being imposed by the Trump administration. So these ideals are no longer relevant. Rules and treaties. Say for example, if I make a rule, these are strong. That is how the strength of these rules can be established when the power backing them is strong. For example, Trump is imposing tariff. So tariff have some value. Why in the world arena? Because Trump has the power. USA has the power. For example, tomorrow Bangladesh says we are going to impose tariff. So these rules will not have that meaning because the power backing them is not strong. So if the power backing a rule shifts, then the rules also changes. If the international order that was established through various treaties of Europe, and Europe is no longer in control of the world power. Europe is no longer the center of power in the world. So these rules will also change. So power dynamic shift, so do the rules. When the power dynamic shifts, rules are also changed. So the old order of idealism, of ethical consideration, of rule-based international order are no longer relevant, or say less relevant. So what has happened? Fundamental changes has happened in regards to the warfare and international order. What changes? For example, warfare, traditional warfare, how it used to happen? Armies used to fight with each other. आमने सामने खड़े हैं, इधर से उसकी सेना, इधर से मेरी सेना, they are fighting each other. But now it has transitioned to advanced technologies, even artificial intelligence, cyber warfare. It has completely changed the way the traditional wars were fought. And also, what other thing has happened? Illusion of peace. It has two dimensions. First one, after the World War II, it was assumed that no such wars will happen in future. The reasons were, first one, everybody was tired of such wars, especially the Europe. Europe's economy was devastated. Second, nuclear weapon, which were used by USA in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So basically, they were considered as a deterrent to the future wars. And also in the current arena, the apparent invincibility of United States, which was established during the World War II. Because during the World War II and after that, when America helped Europe rebuilding his economy, also dominating the international trade, international security, and defense industries, there was illusion of invincibility of United States. But as we saw in the case of Afghanistan, where United States left it in between, so challenged by China, also Russia. So the apparent invincibility of the United States is also an illusion in the current context. So the old rules have changed. There's fundamental change in dominance through the various wars. The peace illusion has been shattered down. There has been a continuous struggle for power. Even after World War II, there has been multiple wars the world has witnessed, like war in Korea between North and South, Vietnam, North and South again, North Africa, part of Europe. Basically, it reinforces Machiavelli's idea of politics. What was the central idea? At any cost, you have to take control of the politics by using pragmatic means. So, even US has been involved in various Korean and Vietnam war we all are aware of. Even Middle East has been a continuous region of flux, and the main player, which even do not belong to that region, is the United States. So, the global order is transitioning. The ways the wars were fought is changing. The illusion of the US dominance and the peace after World War II is also no longer relevant. So we have to adapt to the new realities. What are the new realities? New realities are the technology related realities which the writer is focusing on. What kind of technological? For example, automation now has become an essential feature of modern conflicts. In the Operation Sindoor also Iran-Israel war, we have witnessed extensive use of drones. Hundreds and thousands of drones were hit on one country by the another country. They are used for various things like gathering intelligence, conducting precision strike. If this is a country, we have to strike this, drone are able to do this. Also, operating semi-autonomously, employing large recognition algorithm. They recognize a particular thing which we want to identify, and they target those priority areas. Various aircrafts we see in the Operation Sindoor also. What was the thing that played the major role? Air Force, Air Defense System, S-400 and Akash were in use, and also drones. Also, there were news of this hacking, what we are called as cyber warfare. So, in the world of new technological warfare, where the drones, AI, the hypersonic weapons, network-centric warfare, for example, cyber and AI wars, they have gained prominence. So, the technology, the tools, the devices which we used to rely on in 1980s, 90s, 2000, 2010s, they are not going to be enough for India. This is an era of technological warfare. So, what is required? India is still focusing on like procuring more Rafale jets. Okay, this is fine. And also indigenous development and manufacture of missiles and aircraft. But these are all running behind schedule. So what is required is the emergence of high altitude because of the hostile neighborhood, long endurance and unmanned aerial vehicles because we cannot afford to lose human lives. Now the era is of unmanned aerial vehicle fight. So what is required is the need of the R is to adopt rapidly to keep pace with the changes taking place to ensure survival. The changes which are taking place in the warfare arena and international order, we have to adapt to those. We cannot just keep doing what we were doing 10 years, 20 years, 30 years back. Those who fail to adopt will be at a disadvantage in the struggle of power. So this is the summation of this article, struggle of power. And the global order has changed. So in order to survive in that global order, what is required is the advanced technology warfare capabilities. Advanced technological warfare capabilities. So one term was also there, Operation Desert Storm by the United States. It was a military operation by the US and its allies on Iraq when Iraq controlled or annexed the Kuwait in 1990. So these terms we can use them in our IR answers as examples of establishing international global order. So this is basically the understanding of the global order which is there and how it has transitioned and how the warfare technologies, warfare capabilities have emerged. Next article, spare live animals move to biological models. What is the theme of this article? The basic theme is human beings are considered superior. We have intellectual abilities, and also there is an instinct in animals that they rely on the goodwill of individuals, goodwill of humans. So if the animals rely on the benevolence and goodwill of humans, so it becomes our responsibility to protect them, to protect their lives, and also prevent them from torture and pain. So this article discusses how animals are used in testing laboratories and how we can prevent this. There's an ethical dimension. It says that why humans are not used, why only animals are used, because we consider animal as inferior, we consider them as second class species. This is not altogether right. Why? Because the first experiment which was conducted in 1902 to 1904 on the food preservatives, it was conducted on humans only. It was not like we have been using animals only for the experiments. See, this is one statement which can come in prelims. Benzoate, borax, and formaldehyde. What are these? These are the preservatives which are being used in food. So humans were used for the testing. But there were some issues with human being used in the testing. Why? Because human were very unpredictable and they don't always show the response which was supposed to be shown. For example, if they're supposed to die, they never die. And if they're supposed to recover, they will not recover. So this is how we shifted from human to animals. So it is wrong to presume that human subjects were always exempt from the experiments and testing. So let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the practical solutions which can be taken. See, after the so much advancement in medical technologies, we now can create various body parts in the laboratories. For example, animal muscles, pancreas, bladders, artificial heart, vessels, skin, artificial bone marrow, etc. Okay, don't you think it would be very ethical and kind on part of human to conduct experiments on these parts? For example, a drug comes, which is to be tested on, say, animal skin or human skin. So can't we create a artificial skin in the laboratory and conduct testing on that? Will it not prevent the cruelty and the pain which the animal goes through? Right? So experimentation and testing on cells, tissues, and organs which are developed in laboratories. Also, the uses of 3D models, 2D models. We have to, cut down the animals into parts to understand and to see the visuals of what is there inside. But now we have transitioned to 2D and 3D models, where through visuals only on the computer, we can see various anatomical parts of animals. So if this has been done, this should also be done, and the cruelty on animals should be reduced. In India also, there is a dedicated law on prevention of cruelty to animals Act 1960, which needs to be amended. Why? Because it gives different status to man and animal. Because real status by recognizing them as fellow beings who suffer just like us. So it should be given to them. So this is the central theme of the article, what should be done to reduce the pain on the animals. In our constitution, there are various provisions regarding protection of animals, the wildlife. Article 48A, it was introduced by 42nd Amendment of the Constitution. Keep this in mind. 42nd Amendment of the Constitution, which includes protection of the wildlife and forests. Second, fundamental duty, again by 42nd Constitution Amendment only. It is the duty of every citizen to protect and improve the wildlife and have compassion for living creature. This is what this article talks about: compassion for living creature, giving them status of fellow beings. Article 21 has been interpreted to the maximum extent it can be. It includes animals' life also. We can do cruelty to animals. Then there is a dedicated law also, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. Under this, safeguard and protection of the animals from pain and suffering has to be considered. Also, it lays the guidelines to be followed while experimenting on an animal for scientific purposes. But this has to be amended and includes this thing and this thing. Basically, one important point for prelims is Animal Welfare Board of India. It is established under which act? Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. So this is about preventing the cruelty to animals. Next article. Yes, this we discussed 2 days ago also, but the things which we are going to discuss today is different from what we discussed 2 days back. It is going to evolve. This is a very important constitutional question, and the judgment given by the Supreme Court is also going beyond what has been explicitly or implicitly mentioned in the Constitution. Again, let's go to the context of the question, context of the theme. What happened is the Tamil Nadu government passed 10 bills and sent to governor. Governor take no action. They resend the 10 bills. Okay, now pass them. This time governor passed on them to president. This is done under Article 200. This is done under Article 201. Okay, now Tamil Nadu government परेशान भाई, pass ही नहीं कर रहे bill. They went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court की 2-judge bench. It passed a judgment saying under Article 142 to do the complete justice, these 10 bills are passed. No need of signature. Now, the central government, the president, sent a advisory jurisdiction, which is under Article 143, sent a reference to the Supreme Court, asking many questions. These questions we discussed 2 days ago, but the major themes were: how can Supreme Court 2-judge bench override the signature or the passing of the bills by the governor or the president? How can they impose time limit, which is not mentioned in the Constitution? Under Article 142, you cannot rewrite the Constitution. How can 2-judge bench pass a judgment which includes interpretation of the Constitution or important question of the law? According to Article 145, it should be done by 5-judge bench. So various questions were asked in the presidential reference. Okay. So What was the presidential reference we discussed? It asked 14 questions about April 8 ruling, which passed 10 bills, which were reserved for the president. Can the now in the presidential reference, can the court advise this? Advisory jurisdiction on the court is only advisory in nature. Can it decline also? Can the Supreme Court says, okay, no, we are not going to answer your question. If you want, file a case in the court or challenge the case or challenge the judgment by curative petition. No, yes, it is not bound to do so. In special courts bill case, the Supreme Court says the word may in Article 143, it grants the discretion to decline a reference. Supreme Court can decline. Yes, we are not going to give you the answer. Has it happened? Yes. In Ayodhya Babri Masjid dispute, Supreme Court rejected the reference sent by the president, terming it unconstitutional. So these questions are very important for prelims point of view. Yes, it can decline the reference. Now the next question comes, if the advisory comes, is it binding on the president? No, it is not binding on the president. In St. Xavier's College versus State of Gujarat, the court clarified advisory opinion do not amount to binding precedents. Okay. Now, one more question. If the Supreme Court, in its advisory reply to the president, it says the actions which were taken by the Supreme Court, the judgment which was passed by the Supreme Court to judge bench, it was unconstitutional. So does that amount to nullifying the judgment? Will the advisory opinion nullify the judgment given by the two judge bench? Now they are very interesting cases. In Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal reference, Article 142 cannot be used as a means for the executive to seek a review of its settled judicial decision. It cannot ask to settle a judicial decision. So the only recourse is going through review or curative petition. You have to file a petition through advisory jurisdiction. You can't do it. But there was one such case where Supreme Court has given a judgment through the advisory jurisdiction. How? In 1998, regarding the collegium, the appointment of judges. We all are aware of the third judge's case, Supreme Court Advocate on record versus Union of India. Third judge's case, if you remember, the court changed the composition of the collegium. And this is the practice we follow today. It was increased from one Chief Justice to two judges to four judges. That is, two extra judges were added. So this judgment is still valid. So what are the crux of this article? Presidential reference, we understood. Court can decline it. Yes, it can decline to give the reference. Are they binding? No, they are not binding. Can the court overturn its judgment through the reference? No, it cannot overturn. It has to go through the curative petition or review petition. These are important questions which have been asked. This is the context. 10 repassed bill. Governor section were illegal. The two judges bench said. So invoked Article 140 to do the complete justice. These are the important articles. 200 reserving a bill for the governor's assent. 201 reserving the bill for the president consideration. 142 under which the judgment was given by two judges bench to do the complete justice. 143 advisory jurisdiction. This is what the presidential reference is done under. 145 substantial question of law or the constitutional interpretation must be heard by 5-judge bench, which we just discussed. So this is going to evolve and it will come in newspaper like every third day, every week. So we are going to have a look at what developments are basically happening in this regard. Next is fixing Delhi's air quality crisis. So what this article basically discusses is the central issue which is plaguing the resolution of the air quality crisis in Delhi. We are now sitting in July, and now in October, November, pollution will start. So what are the various two issues which have been discussed in this article is this: fragmented governance structure and lack of regional cooperation. These are the major issues which are behind that we are not able to tackle the pollution crisis in Delhi. Various steps have been taken in the past also. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana to reduce household biomass burning. reducing emissions from freight movements across city boundaries. Various steps have been taken to reduce the pollution, but still we are not able to do. There is a fragmented governance structure in Delhi. For example, various roads. For example, dust from road is a major reason behind pollution. So the some roads come under Delhi government, some under central government, some comes under MCD. So there is a fragmented governance structure. So it becomes difficult to cooperate among the various strata. Second, regulation of industrial fuel. See, pollution in Delhi is not only from Delhi. This is the Haryana, Rajasthan, UP, Punjab. This is the entire NCR region which is responsible for the pollution in this region. But the issue is the policies in various states they differ. There is no coherence in the policies. For example, regulating industrial fuels. All states do not have a clearly defined fuel list which are banned. In some states, some things are allowed. In some states, some things are not allowed. For example, pet coke, which is a high emission fuel, is banned only in some states. This is a very high polluting fuel. Second, age limit for vehicles. It was so much in news recently that Delhi ne the 10 years diesel vehicle were banned. But if the vehicle is emitting pollution, for example, then what is the solution? It should be banned, but it can be transported to Haryana. Then it can be used. So the pollution will still be there. So there is no coherence in the policies. Also, India is a signatory to various international conventions. These conventions, these are important from prelims point of view. First one is Stockholm Convention. It is designed to protect human health and environment from POPs, persistent organic pollutants. That is the pollutants which persist in the environment and their lifespan is very high. Rio Declaration, again Earth Summit 1992 of 𝐼𝐴, United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED. UNCED. This is also called as Earth Summit. Earth Summit. This is regarding 27 principles for sustainable development. Then Malé Declaration. It specifically talks about pollution in South Asia, prevention of air pollution, and focuses on regional cooperation. This is what is discussed in the article to address air pollution in South Asia. So, under also these conventions, it is kind of an obligation on India, on NCR region, to come to a cooperation between the various states. This regional cooperation, for example, brick kilns in Delhi NCR region, they should have a zigzag technologies. But in some districts, some states, they are using the old technologies, which emits pollution. So basically, the article says there is a current political mandate aligning how central government and the parties in power in Delhi, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, they are the same. So this is the high time and this is the maybe the right time to build a political consensus and resolve the problem of pollution in Delhi. Okay. This is a worrisome article. Net FDI dives 98% on lower gross inflows. What is net FDI and gross FDI? Let us understand this first. This is India and this is a foreign country US. And we are getting FDI from US only. This is what we are assuming. There are two countries in the world only, India and US. So what is FDI? US total investment in India is say 100. There is FDI. Gross FDI 100. Now there are companies in India also. So the net FDI will come when out of this 100, these companies say repatriate 20 rupees. 20 rupees as in for dividends or profit sharing for interest payment or say disinvestment. 20 rupees go back. So this year 100 rupees came, 20 years were sent back. And Indian companies also invested 15 rupees in American market. So net FDI will be 100 minus 20 minus 15. 100 came and 20 and 15 goes out. So total would be 65. So the net FDI in the month of May, it stood at $35 million only, which was 2.2 billion last May. This is a month on month basis, but for the exam, one such question is very important that can come directly in the prelims exam. The trend of FDI in India. Trend of FDI, net FDI in India. Gross FDI is going like increasing only, but the net FDI is falling. This is the graph. Net FDI inflows in India between 2021 and 24-25. In 21, it was $44 billion. It fell to 38.6, 28, 10, and this year 0.4 only, which is approximately $353 million. So this is very poor. If a question comes, the net FDI has been consistently falling since COVID. Answer would be right. This statement would be right. So this is a concern for India. It is not that the FDI which is coming is going down. This is still high, but this thing which is going out through repatriation or disinvestment, this is increasing. So this is the trend of FDI in India. So these are the articles for today. If you have any query, you can ask in the comment box. I am attaching the notes in the comment box only. Okay, so till then we will see you tomorrow. Till then, take care of yourself, study well, good luck.